I'm now up on St. Paul's Terrace, which means I'm approaching St. Paul's Presbyterian Church.
Hang on a moment. This is actually the third St. Paul's Church. Before we go in, let's take a quick look at where the first two were. The first St. Paul's was a wooden affair built in 1863 on Creek Street in the city. In 1865, the congregation authorised the raising of a loan for £1,000 sterling for the erection of a new stone church on the same site. This second St. Paul's Church was completed in 1876 and was on the corner of Creek and Adelaide Streets. In the right background, you can also see St. Stephen's Cathedral under construction. But this second church didn't last long here, with a boom in the economy and their next-door neighbours, the Queensland National Bank, deciding they needed to expand their operations. The church land was sold in 1885, so the church was pulled down and some of the stonework carted up the hill to be reused in the construction of the third and present St. Paul's Church. Okay, please continue.
Oh, and here we are. The nave here, this is the main part. We've got transept coming across this way. Two aisles, there's one over there, and the other aisle is here. Really, and then you've got the high altar over here. Look at the organ there, the pipes. Placement of the organ and pipe seems to change from church to church. Here it's in the transept, but at the St Andrew's Uniting, it was up above the altar. And then at the All Saints, that really old one from 1869, the organ was at the back of the church. So I guess it's wherever they can fit it, wherever they can place it successfully. Found another model church, just like over at the Albert Street Uniting Church. St. Paul's has a model church as well. I've just been looking at this thing in the wall, this round thing. It looks like a vent or something. Does anyone know what it is? It looks... There's another one of these vents. I don't know. Going to be going up into, it's called the Bell Tower. Oh wow, this is really narrow. Cool.
And then the architect would you believe this was carried up there?
Yeah.
That's his work, translated by work.
There's a photograph in the book.
Numerals.
It's 1820.
So on this old bookshelf here, going through some of these, there we are, through some of these books, and the date on one of these, and I'll be super careful, 82 Newgate, there it is, 1827 for this book, Nathaniel Lardner, the works of Nathaniel Lardner with a life by Dr. Kippers. I don't even know who these people are. Now it seems quite possible that some of these books here were brought out with the first settlers on the Fortitude, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Fortitude on the ship. Was it Lang who brought them out? Was that was the guy's name, wasn't it? Was Lang?
John Dunmore Lang.
Yeah, John Dunmore Lang. He brought out some people to settle. They settled in Fortitude Valley, named Fortitude Valley after the ship. And these books date from just before that time they came out here. So I'm guessing, for example, this book here was on the Fortitude. Looks like it's been misprinted, doesn't it, off the side there?
Yeah.
Speeches at the Constitutional Meeting, George Street, Edinburgh.
Wow, so they did.
Yeah, this is another one from the same, on Monday the 28th of November 1831. Are you alright, Penny?
Yeah, I'm
Penny can't go down the stairs. Do you want to go backwards? Yes. You've got real treasures here. They've got to be preserved. So,
And we ignore them and treat them like that.
yeah, the Gospel according to Luke and John. Here we go, up into the bell tower. Wow.
And in the 50 years I've been here,
All right, made it up into the bell tower.
that tells you who made it and who donated
So
it.
that's
William Warner and
John
Son,
Warner and Sons, London.
1888.
Come all ye faithful and worship the Lord. Okay. All right, so that's the bell moving now. So Bill, what were we saying, that you don't ring the bell now because of...
Because it's a swung bell.
Yeah.
And the tower's not stable.
Now there's a place through here, there's a little crawl space, and I'll get some light into it and I'll show you what's in there. All right, going in. Are there any spiders? What's that? Did I just knock something?
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you. I'm actually now...
You can go to the... You can walk a little bit to the left.
Walk a little bit, yeah. Actually, I'll just go to here.
Back into the other side. Come back into there. I think he's given some good show.
So that's looking down right into the church. I can see the pews down there. I wonder what these were in other churches, and I think it's just for air circulation. Okay, leaving the roof of the church and going back into the bell tower.
I can't do that, I've got to climb up. My legs aren't long enough.
There we go. I just have to touch the church. Now here on the grounds of the church, it's not just St. Paul's itself, but next door is the old church hall, and apparently that was built before the church was. And incidentally, this building here was built on the site of the very first children's hospital in Brisbane, and that was set up in 1878. Let's go and have a look. Now these unusual round shapes up on the ceiling are actually gas lights. They're currently not working. So the church hall here was used as a church while the main St. Paul's Presbyterian church next door was being constructed, and now it's just used for whatever local events, and I don't know what they do here really. What do they do here? I don't know. Raffles and dances and presentations. There's food over here. Feed the homeless or families in need, that sort of thing. And clothing. There is currently a restoration fund going. The church needs a little bit of work. I don't know exactly which bits, but if in any way you want to offer a tax-deductible donation to the church, please get in contact with them. It's such a beautiful building, and it really does need to be preserved. It's been here for a long time, and it needs to be here for even longer. I'm now approaching the Brookes Street Methodist Church. This was built in 1889. It's no longer a church and hasn't been one for a very long time. And it's now the home of an architectural firm, the ESPN Architects. It's also a cafe here. And because it isn't a church anymore, it's a place of business. I can't really spend too long here. People are busy and I don't want to get in their way. So I've been very kindly given permission to have a little look around in there. It's the Holy Trinity Church just across the road. I was there a little while ago. little secret doorway. Now, Margot, who works here, who helped get me the permission to come here and film this church, she said that she heard that there was a morgue underneath the church with access down that way. I never heard that there was a morgue here, but maybe there was. A little extra bit up here. Let's have a look. This was not part of the church, this was a later addition. Up near the roof here, and you can see one of the stained glass windows up there. And the stained glass here in this church was imported from Munich in Germany. This is a cute spot. Quite a little work area up here. There's Brook Street out there. So the church was opened in 1889. It was a Methodist church, later became Wesleyan, and it was closed in the early 70s, so it hasn't been a church for half a century now. You can see here the exterior of the church there, but on this side here, this is part of the new build, so you can see the difference in the brickwork. And that's a really good idea, actually. You're not trying to cheat it, not trying to pretend that the church keeps going. Show people very clearly where the old church finishes and where the new structure begins. Now, next to the church is a hall, and the hall predates the church. This was built in the 1870s. I think it might have been 1877. I think if it's wrong, I'll put it down there as a caption. But all right, Brookes Street Methodist, done and dusted. Now I'm off to St Mary's Catholic Church at South Brisbane. See if I can find an Uber. Now I find myself at 20 Maryvale Street at South Brisbane, and ahead of me is St Mary's Catholic Church. I understand that the population of the South Brisbane area and West End back then, there was a very heavy Irish presence. What do you call it? Working class church. But gosh, it's beautiful in here, and I've just found out that the original church, the 1893 one, finished right here, just along there, and then in the 1920s that apse was added to it, but you wouldn't know it. Looking at it, it looks like it's all part of the one design. So the font here apparently is Royal Dalton, and there are only 3 of these in the world. It was made in the late 1800s, late 19th century in England, and this church is very fortunate to have one of them. There's another one in Australia somewhere, and apparently one in the United States. And then up there there's what would you call that? The balcony up there, the organ is up there as well. Go and have a look. Great view of the big round stained glass window there. Apparently with the opening of the go-between bridge, is that what it's called? Apparently with the opening of a new bridge not far from here into the city, there's more traffic, and there's going to be more traffic with the Cross River Rail. So they're able to get the money to try and soundproof the church a little bit, and because there is so much noise out here. They also got money to put some air conditioning in. Erected in memory of the Reverend Father Paul Keating, VA, who died July 5th, 1919, aged 26. Well, she was young to be a father. I mean, you know, a church father, not a dad. Alright, so there she is. Mary MacKillop, Australia's only saint. And she has a connection with this church. Now this edging here that you can see going along the wall, this has been covered up for a long time, and when the church was being renovated some years ago, they found these and they had the money to take away all the paint that had been painted over them and to reveal these lovely, I don't know what you call them, some sort of tracery or edging or something along there. They're able to resurrect them, you know, bring them back. I wonder why there's really no stained glass windows here. I mean, obviously the windows do have some colouring on them, you can see them, but they're not depicting any biblical scenes or anything that I've seen in most of the other churches. These ones are quite plain. Maybe they just wanted a simple approach. I mean, that's got the Holy Grail up there. It's like a bird that's upside down. I don't know what that means, that symbol. I don't know what that symbol there is, up there. Can you see that? Looks like a dollar sign. It isn't, but I don't know what it is. Okay, we're leaving St Mary's Catholic Church now, but not quite leaving the grounds yet, because next door to the church, in what is now a car park, you can see the cars down there. There used to be like a church hall there, and Mother Mary MacKillop used to teach there. And there's a bell there too, just notice that. I've never seen a grotto before in Brisbane. Here it is. And it says something in there, in honour of Our Lady of Lourdes, in thanksgiving for the victory of the Coral Sea, 8th of May 1942, directed by the Mrs. M.J. and M. Bowles. So, alright, this is in Latin. We've got the date here, M. 1015, 16, 17, 18, 1890, 1892. So this stone was laid in 1892. Come around to the back of the church, and from here I can see quite clearly where the original church, the 1893 one, finished, and where the 1920s apse add-on begins. Well, there we go, St Mary's Catholic Church at South Brisbane. Now I'm off to St Luke's Church of England. It's no longer a church, but it's better known as the Pancake Manor. Romanesque Revival Church. Now this is early 20th century, so I guess neo-Gothic went out of fashion by then. Right, here in St Luke's Church on Charlotte Street in the city, and this was built in 1904. The kitchen's through there, that's where the altar would have been. And I don't know about the roof, whether that's the original. Could be.
So there's really nothing left here in the church of when it was a church. It's all been turned over to Pancake Manor, and it's been Pancake Manor since 1979, I think. Just having a look at this plaque here, it's a sacred remembrance of our beloved founder, Charles Kitchen. Now, he apparently laboured on this church for 40 years. He died in 1934, so kind of an appropriate name. His last name is Kitchen, and now this place is a restaurant. So the little side door here, that would give someone access to the bell tower, which is directly underneath here. So that's the door to the bell tower. We're going to take a look at the bell tower. I'm not allowed in that one. Let's come down this little side exit here, and on the outside of the church up there you can see there's a door, but you wouldn't want to open that and step out. So I don't know if there used to be a staircase there or some other structure, because that door just, step right out and fall down here. Approaching St Andrew's Uniting Church, corner Creek and Ann Street. Is the church actually open today?
No.
No, it isn't. Okay. I know some are open on Fridays.
We're open Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays and Wednesdays, okay. Just the size of the church organ, really spectacular. So this church here, this St Andrew's, replaces an earlier church up near Central Train Station. That church had to be given up because of the railway. Central Station was expanding, and there was going to be more tunnels and things like that, so they couldn't use the church anymore. The railways bought it, and the congregation came down here to Creek Street and built this St Andrew's Church, and it opened in 1905. However, the church that they abandoned sat empty for decades. The railways didn't end up destroying it until much later, long afterwards, so they probably could have stayed there a lot longer. But anyway, they've got this one now, this absolutely cavernous, wonderful, and church. Now it's a uniting church. I think it was in the 1970s. A bunch of different denominations got together and became the uniting church. Now, if it didn't become a uniting church until the 70s, this church here, I guess, would have been Presbyterian. Its original designation. Ceiling is so high up, wow. There's such a monumental, heavy set, very solid feel to this church. It almost feels like if they were going to shoot a Batman movie in Brisbane, they would put a scene in this church. It just looks like something out of Gotham City. These treasures that we have right in the middle of Brisbane, and we don't go into them, we don't learn about them, and except for the local congregation, the rest of us are oblivious to it. And what an extraordinary place. Thank you very much, Luke, for allowing me to come in here and have a look around. These steps are not an exit from the church, but you're going to go up then. I can go up on the balcony. Wow. How cool is this? That was absolutely incredible. Had no idea about that balcony, which is just up there. Oh wait. they're just across the road there on the corner of George and Queen Streets. There used to be a convict workshop, and they did cooperage and carpentry and candle making. That was built in 1827. It was also a lumber yard as well. Built in 1827, in 1842 it became the first St John's Church in Brisbane. Right here in the grounds of Queen's Park, there used to be the second St John's Church. It was known as St John's Anglican Pro Cathedral, and apparently in the footpath just over here, there's a sign in the pavement saying where the altar used to stand. The foundation stone was laid in 1901, and most of the stone here internally and up with the ceilings comes from Helidon, west of Brisbane. Now, the cathedral was not built all in one go. It was built in 3 stages, and there's a little flyer here I got from the front door there, and it says what the stages were. It was, where are we? I've got my glasses. Building work proceeded in 3 stages, 1906 to 1910, 1906 to 1910, 1964 to 1968, and there's the thing in the wall over there, Prince Philip. He was here in 1968, so he must have been here for the completion of stage 2 of the construction of the cathedral. And stage 3 was 1989 to 2009. So the first part, the beginning of the 20th century, is that area up there. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is the nave here. So this is the nave. And then stage 3 is the front entrance there, facing Ann Street. Now, I'm kind of hanging around the front of the cathedral because they like you to pay a donation upon entry, which I'm happy to do, but no one's here to take my money. Well, I paid my donation. Starting to rain. And I always get excited about this when I find another plaque, and there's one just around this corner. What's this? Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh attended divine service in St John's Cathedral on 10th of March 1954. So Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was here twice, once in 68 and another time in 1954. That's it, that's where Queensland started. I'm walking through Centenary Space, just on the boundary between Brisbane and Fortitude Valley, and up ahead of me is all that remains of what was going to be a very large Catholic cathedral. In fact, it was going to be the largest Catholic cathedral in the Southern Hemisphere. It wasn't built, but there's just a little bit left that we can go and take a look. And apparently there was a large crypt here on the site, and it was used for church services even though the church or the cathedral above was never built. I believe it was the Great Depression that pretty much killed off any further development on this place. I remember coming to this site back in the 80s, not long after we moved here from Sydney, and they don't exist anymore, but there were some stairs just further down that way. I remember some friends and I going up the stairs there and up on top, and it was a big flat area. It was just big open ground. It was waste ground for donkey's years. Just come to the end of the wall here now, and from here on, there used to be more of the wall, but it's all been cut away now for this Cathedral Place development, which I think was built in the 90s. So I've just turned around, and now I'm going to go along, what's this, Ann Street. It would have been amazing if this cathedral was actually built, and considering it would have been the largest Catholic cathedral in the Southern Hemisphere, here's the computer rendering of what the cathedral would have looked like had it been built. Now, even though the foundation stones, there were two of them, were laid here at the beginning of construction of this cathedral, eventually the stones were removed from here and taken to the current St. Stephen's Cathedral, which is the Catholic cathedral for Brisbane.